Bishop Sherman D.Manning, thank you for joining me on Yes We Can podcast with Bishop Sherman D.Manning. I know we're starting the show off a little differently today, but it is a special day, and I have a special guest whom I will introduce momentarily. Before we get into the podcast, please remember that I pastor Yes We Can Worship Center. We house the homeless. We feed the hungry. The website should be on the screen, yeswecanworshipcenter.org. Many of you all complain about these pastors who raise all that money and don't do anything for the community. Well, Yes We Can solves that problem for you. We house the homeless. We feed the hungry. It is our mission. It is what we do. We are building the Tiny Homes Project. We need people to support this project. Any donation is tax deductible, whether it is $500, $5,000, or $500,000. Go to thetinyhomesproject.com. Send your donation today. Now, let's get the show started. My guest is Vincent Williams, and he is the proprietor of one of the best chicken houses, if you will, that you'll find anywhere in this country. I'm going to let him introduce himself and his company right now. Mr. Williams, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Bishop. Yeah, my name is Vincent Williams. Many people know me as Chef Vinny. I'm the founder of Honey's Kettle Chicken here in downtown Culver City, California. And yes, what he said was true, is that we're pretty darn good at what we do. You got to come check us out.
Okay. Now, someone told me, they call Mike Tyson the baddest man on the planet. A lot of people call him that. Someone somewhere told me that against that backdrop, you are known as a person who's fried more chicken than anybody else on the planet. Is that rumor carry any weight?
Absolutely. In fact, in quotes, I have said that many times that I have indeed cooked more chicken than any man has ever lived, probably will live. And I have a bad back to show why I can say that.
But mentioning bad backs now, on my podcast, I should have brought some bricks or something so that I could be as tall as he is, but he's about 6'4" or 5. So if it looks like I'm real short, I'm not that short. I'm 6 feet. Okay. All right. But this is a great man. He's a wonderful man. And I wanted to bring him into the studio so we could really tap into the synergy that I felt when we were speaking telephonically the other day. We have a lot of territory that we want to cover, but this is more just like a conversation between two men, and you get a chance to eavesdrop on it is what we're talking about. So let me just start from the top and ask you one of my most famous questions, which is, tell me who you are.
First, I was born to James and Lorraine Williams in 19.
His name was James.
That's right. And my father from Shreveport, mother from New Orleans, met in Pasadena, California. The rest is history on that. But I was born to them, raised under, God, man, I gotta say, two of the greatest human beings that ever lived.
My Lord.
My father, he wasn't necessarily the nicest guy in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't understand him for years. It wasn't until we worked together in 1983, we got to understand each other as men. Mm-hmm. Well, what an impact he has had on my life. And my mother, of course, was full of culture and grace. A lot of people from New Orleans, culture and grace and sophistication in the church.
Right.
And all that.
Right.
Yeah.
I was telling a close friend of mine the other day, when you talk about your parents glowingly, I do also. James Scott Manning and Dolly Mae Manning, and they're both in heaven now. Yeah. But I was telling my friend, I said, man, didn't they get us ready?
Oh, my God.
They got us ready, man. They got us ready.
I'm telling you, man.
And I don't mean to young people set trip, but I'm not sure parenting is done like it used to be anymore.
They never picked up a book. This was stuff that came from the old school.
Right. That's right.
And the thing is, my father, he lectured me on some things, but not like I did my own kids. I tried to tell them about everything.
Right.
But my father, just by example.
That's James Scott, man.
Hard-working man. Always bragged I only missed maybe one day of work. If I was sick, I had responsibility. I had to get up off that bed. Sometimes I would stay up all night long to make sure I can get to work. These people had real work ethic.
I was telling someone the other day, and I know sometimes people think I'm lying when I say it. My father worked at Lockheed aircraft company. As they would say, good job, one of them good jobs, real good job. I'm talking about he was making $50 an hour when I was 12 years old. He was really went on 51 now. Okay. 41 years, he never missed a day of work.
There you go.
He left sick twice in the middle of the day in 41 years. He never called in a day sick.
Right.
And man, they had to give him so much money when he retired. And I asked him, why was that? And he was saying, do you know where I came from? Yeah. And he explained to me he grew up in Alpharetta, Georgia. Right. Dirt broke, busted and disgusted, tore from the floor. Right. When he messed around and got that job, he fought for dear life. That's right. And he said, and so they didn't take it for granted. Right. And he'd leave early for work every day. I said, why are you leaving so early? He said, if I have a flat tire, I still get there on time. You understand what I'm saying? So where did you learn your work ethic from, by the way?
Well, it's the same sort of thing. Now, interesting enough, my father, when he came from Louisiana, he used to talk about that it was all about that almighty dollar.
Okay.
It wasn't about education.
Okay.
Now, in the rural country, our family was the best at producing food for the winter. So the smokehouse was full. Neighbors would come. People, they were free. Always a pot of food at the Williams house.
Okay.
But now you go to California, and it's a whole different set of circumstances. You're not in the rural. You're not growing stuff anymore. So my father had a talent for shooting pool.
Okay.
And now he would proudly talk about many a days that he didn't have any money. That pool stick had a bill paid. And back then he described it as he would wear tailor-made suits. That's all he wore. They didn't buy stuff off the shelf. And but he was very proud of the fact that he was a hustler, he called himself. Okay. Wasn't a criminal, but he was a hustler.
Right.
When he met my mother, he knew something had to change. And he went back to school and got an education for auto mechanics and he took off the gabardine suits and started working as a mechanic. So, but he had an incredible sense of manliness. He was a man. And just watching him,
Right.
Like when I became a teenager, I had to sit in there have conversations with him.
Right.
You couldn't come with no shucking and chucking with it. He knew all the game.
Would you say, though, your mother made him a better man?
Oh, absolutely. And you know what, Bishop? In all cases, it's the man, I call it the finishing school.
Okay.
Is that when a man meets a woman that he most wants to impress, it'll take him to higher heights. Barack Obama didn't become president.
See, without Michelle.
Because it always works that way.
And along that same vein, I was thinking about Ambassador Andrew Young. Walked and talked with Martin Luther King Jr., was a civil rights legend, still living, by the way, over 90 in Atlanta, Georgia right now, one of my heroes. When he first made United Nations ambassador, they took him to this little country town where his wife grew up, and they were throwing him a parade. And he was back in the Cadillac, top back. He was sitting up on the seat, and his wife pointed to a bomb. And she said, you see that bomb right there? Andy said, yes. She said, that was my high school boyfriend. And Andy said, see, you could have married him. And she looked at Andy and said, and if I had married him, he would be the United Nations. That's it. That's a good one. So the right woman.
The right woman makes all.
Can make a difference. Mentioning the right woman, we want to talk about your chicken empire that you have built and are building and are going to continue to build in a moment. But tell me something about your wife.
Well, my wife, again, I say a woman is the finishing school. My wife came up out of Watts and got a full ride scholarship to Stanford University. She was a valedictorian in her class. The first time I set eyes on her, I knew. And that was like 1974. And I set eyes on her. I said, wow. She had the look. She knew how to party.
Right.
And I knew how smart she was. Wow. And I said, in order to complete myself, a man's got to get where you might have weaknesses.
Right.
You got to match yourself with somebody who's got strengths that'll overcome those weaknesses.
Thank you. And her name is what?
Arlene Warmack Williams.
Okay, Arlene Warmack Williams. I know one Arlene in Atlanta, Georgia, who was a singer. Let's talk about this this chicken business. So how did you get into the chicken business, and when did you know that this was what you were going to do for the rest of your life?
Interesting. Actually, my story with the chicken business was very happenstance. So a friend of mine, his brother, was running a chicken production facility in Los Angeles. And they always had a need for young guys because we were working graveyard shift jobs. And so he said one day to say, "Hey, look, you want to work? My brother has an opening. You want to come and work with us?" I said, "Well, yeah, that's fine. Right. I'm gonna be going to college in the day, and then I'll work the graveyard shift at night." Now, who would have thought a guy working a graveyard shift job would be sitting on top of a brand that is as popular as the one I have today? So it isn't so much that I knew exactly where I was going, but I was observing and I was learning. It was almost like by osmosis. I was picking up things about the business from 1973 when I graduated from high school.
Okay.
Got a chance to meet one of the most prominent men in Los Angeles, a guy by the name of Willie J. Stennis and his wife, Zelma Stennis.
What's the last name again?
Stennis.
Stennis, okay.
Like tennis with an S.
Okay.
Most prominent family in Los Angeles from like the 1950s. They had pictures of Cassius Clay at the time and Sonny.
Okay, I got to look these people up.
Sonny Liston and all those different people that, oh yeah, you definitely have to look them up. You heard of Mayor Tom Bradley.
Yes, of course.
Well, and Yvonne Burke, councilwoman.
Yes.
Everybody who was somebody in Los Angeles political scene had to come through Willie J.
Okay.
Because he was the man.
Okay.
And this guy, I set eyes on him one day. He came by the production facility we were working at. And I remember him walking through, and he had just come from playing golf. So he had a golf hat and a golf sweater. And I was so impressed. And he walked into our building, and he looked around because he owned the property. And he said, "We got to get you guys out of here." But it was something about the way he said it. Was like he was a man of action.
Okay.
Shortly after that, we moved to Culver City, to a warehouse in Culver City. And that was a mark of the beginning of me in the chicken business, really, because my friend went on to work in the stores. He had about 10 restaurants. And
so if I may, so when you get to Culver City, are you the owner now? Or you?
No. I'm just still working. Now, I just, started in 73. We get into Culver City. Now, I'm working at a warehouse, the warehouse that he acquired in about 75. So I became the warehouse manager.
Right.
And so the day I met him, he came up through the warehouse back door, and I went over to him. I said, "Hi, Mr. Stennis. I'm Vincent Williams, and I'm in charge of the warehouse." And I remember how he looked up at me so seriously from underneath his glasses, and he said, "Son, you got a critical job." And I literally felt myself like a military guy clicking his heels and saluting him like, "Sir, whatever it takes, I will do."
Right.
Fast forward it to 1983, 10 years in, they wanted to franchise. So I had an opportunity to be the first franchisee. I raised my hand at the, when opportunity knocks, you got to answer. I got an opportunity to own one of the stores that he was going to close in 1983.
Okay.
And that started my journey. And so,
what was the name of it? Was it
it was the Golden Bird Chicken Restaurants that I started with. And I'm telling you, if you talk about somebody over hill and over dale and bombs bursting in air, the flag was still there. It was like, I couldn't believe all the attacks that was under from day one, including the criminal element at the time. I was in Compton.
People were breaking in?
Breaking in regularly. That was a regular routine. And then also, armed robberies, even though I never experienced it, my people at the store experienced it. It was all kinds of stuff that was happening to me, but I endured it, And I remember after being in that store at some point, I went back to him and said, "Mr. Stennis, I can't make any money doing this." And he looked at me and with a little chuckle and said, "Well, all I could tell you is you're working for yourself." And I left his office realizing that lesson right there was something I would hold on to forever. That if you're working for yourself, you better go back there and figure it out. because you could be working for me,
Right.
or you could be working for someone else,
That's right.
but you're working for yourself. So whatever problems you got, go figure them out,
Right.
because it's going to be for your benefit.
Thank you. I read somewhere, because I don't pry or barge into private information. Is this public or not? I don't know. But I read somewhere where your company does, like, what is it, $3 million a year? Is that publicly disclosed?
Well, we don't like to talk about numbers, but we're let's put it like this: we're
over $1 million.
or more than one restaurant in one building. So it is a very healthy business, and I feel like we're just.
And the only reason I wanted to call a number out, because I know, I want my audience to know that you're a millionaire, and I want to know, starting
millionaire. That's a loosely defined term now.
Starting out, how did how many times? Because I asked you this before. Did you ever think you weren't going to make it to win?
I tell you what, and you may not believe this, but it's a true story. Every day from 1983, I felt like I was running for my life, fearful that something was going to come that put me out of business. And things came. The riots in 92 came. But we almost got burned down in 92. I thought that was going to be it. Changes constantly. The economy falling down. Economy in the Black community, if it falls down in the general community, it falls down by 50% more in the Black community. Oh my God. I mean, and even today,
if the white community catches a cold, the Black community gets the flu, right?
And then along came COVID.
What did you do during COVID? Were you open at all?
I declared during COVID, I said, unless the law comes and tells us we can't be open, you can count on us. We'll be open. And
that's what my church did, actually.
We never closed during the time.
We kept right on at church.
We made the adjustment.
And I read where others got fines and so on, but the Lord must have gave me favor, because we never got any harassment whatsoever from them at all. Yeah.
Another lesson I should point out to you that I got from my boss, I used to always hear him when we'd have manager meetings. He would say, we don't take care of this business, we're going to have to close our doors. Okay. And he was a guy out of Mississippi. Like, we're going to have to close our doors. And as I reflect on what the message was in that, is that if you lose your momentum and close your doors, they may not ever open again. So I always knew that whatever it happens, if it's fire, whatever, got in me to get those doors open again.
Mentioning getting doors open, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back after this. I hope you're enjoying that podcast with Vincent Williams. Let me tell you something. This is a brilliant man, a bright man, a rich man, not just with money, but with wisdom and with knowledge. Recently, preached a few sermons, and I want you to hear them. Just a couple of clips, trying to go around the country if we can and remind people, all God's children, Black, white, Hispanic, that you are somebody, that you're important to the kingdom, and that you mean something to God. So take a look at this. Take a look at this clip right now. There's about 3 of them. Take a look.
Come talk to me. Say, I am somebody. I'm the son and daughter of kings and queens. I am somebody. I don't care what they named you. I don't care what you did. I don't care how long you did it. God told me to tell you, you are not shook up. But your name is Israel, because you are a prince. You are a princess. Somebody give God a hand clap. I said, we know that all things work together for good for them that love God and called according to his purpose. Your situation is bigger than you want to make it to be. Your situation is big enough that it will help you make it to the promise. Talk to me, somebody. Get your eyes off the pit and stop feeling sorry for yourself because they lied on you. Stop feeling sorry for yourself because they lied to you. Stop being mad at God because you've been in a pit. But use the pit as a stepping stone to make it to the palace. God, talk to to be somebody. God might actually have you in that problem for a reason. God might actually have you in that pit for a reason. But please remember, it's a reason and a season. And even though men and women may do you wrong, but Job told his brothers that you thought evil upon me, but God made it good. You saw me here, but God sent me here to save your life. And you're there for a reason. Tell your neighbor, you're here for a reason. Before it's all over, God will make it good. If I hadn't came to California, I would have never went to the prison. If I'd have never went to the prison, I'd have never started Yes We Can. If I'd have never started Yes We Can, Anthony would be still on Skid Row, talking to himself and sleeping on the streets. But God had to put me in the prison in order to get me to the palace. And somebody in here tonight, you're in a pit right now. But God told me to tell you that the pit won't last for long. But God is getting ready to raise you up. God is getting ready to transform your life. God is getting ready to transform the training displays of yesterday into a bright tomorrow. I've seen the lightning flash. I've heard the thunder roll. I've seen some brokers dashing, trying on my soul. But then the voice of Jesus says, Stephen, fight on. He promised never to leave me, never to leave me alone. No, never alone. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Give God some praise. Give God some praise. Come on, give him some praise.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen, just trying to put the word out that you're somebody, that you're important to the kingdom. Do me a favor. Help us house the homeless and feed the hungry in this city. I'm not going to prophesy like some preachers do and pretend that you're going to get a new car, you're going to get a new, I don't know what you're going to get, but I do know this. The Bible says that if you give to the poor, you lend to the homeless. You lend to God, rather. If you give to the poor, you lend unto God. Go to the tinyhomesproject.com. Any donation, $10, 10,000, 100,000, help us build the Tiny Homes Project, the tinyhomesproject.com. Like this video, subscribe to this video, and please leave a comment. Now, let's get back to Vincent Williams. Thank you for joining us. Nowhere else on the planet can you get this kind of podcast, people just sitting down talking about things that we talk about around the family table, private conversations that businessmen and bishops have every day, and you get a chance to eavesdrop on what it is that we're talking about today. And this is a great man, Mr. Vincent Williams, and I want to pick up on the closed doors. We were talking about doors closing. When you first started your store, didn't you have to close down because of a fire?
Yeah, in Culver City. So here I had struggled in Compton, and I thought every day I was going to die. In fact, have you ever had to create your own hope when there was no hope?
Yes.
I would actually imagine there was a mirage out there in the future, and if I just keep crawling, I would get to some water. And I would get to that end of that mirage, and it'd be nothing but more hot sand. But it kept me going long enough to make it another month. And as I added the years together, it started moving towards, well, you're still in the game after 10 years.
Right.
You're still in the game after 15 years. And so in 1999, I got an opportunity to create the Honey's Kettle brand. Honey's Kettle Fried Chicken. I took my time, created an image, and it was like putting a puzzle together. I put the logo in it, and then surrounding things. I wanted to call myself a new old-fashioned company. And so I started putting another piece in, and it would give me this broader picture of a place that would be the most all-American fried chicken restaurant in the nation, past, present, or future. I mean, I wanted to really knock it out because I didn't want to ever go out of business.
Right.
So I finally get an opportunity after all those years in Compton, working hard, getting nowhere, working hard, going backwards, working hard, using my wife's check to cover the bills. So I get in 1999 the opportunity to get a location in downtown Culver City right before the Renaissance occurred there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think now it's time for me to hit a home run. I'm about to do it now.
Mm.
It took us 18 months and a whole lot more money than I had. I don't even know where all the money came with, but I put Band-Aid after Band-Aid on it.
Mm.
We did everything we could to keep it going.
Mm.
And then finally we got open.
Mm.
4 months into opening, a fire happened.
There you go.
And knocked me back down again.
Mm. Mm.
I came in that morning with 2 left shoes. I came in with 2 left shoes.
Right.
And I thought, this business thing is crazy.
Right.
It's impossible to succeed in business.
Right. Right. That's my air conditioning coming on, y'all. But it's hot anyway. Don't worry about it. They're going to shut it right off. Yeah. So David said it this way. The Bible says that David had to encourage himself. Yeah. Sometimes you have to push yourself. And I thought about something, piggybacking off of something you said earlier. And I was going to let it pass, but then I guess the Holy Ghost doesn't want me to let it pass. You were talking about it earlier. You felt like you were running for your life all those years. It occurs to me that in this day and age, with this particular president that we have in office, the more I really reflect and look back on my life, I think most black men feel like we're running for our lives, all of our lives anyway.
Well, we have always been running for our lives.
Isn't that sad in some sense?
To tell the truth, slavery never ended.
Mm.
Slavery did change, the freedoms did come, but when you look at the number of our people suffering,
mm-hmm.
and I'm talking about real suffering,
mm-hmm.
Don't know where the next meal is coming from,
right.
don't know where to lay their head.
Right.
Slavery is still happening today, but in a different form.
That's right.
A lot of it is the self-inflicted slavery
mm-hmm.
from being born from parents that didn't love you a whole lot, never told you they loved you,
right.
kind of just put you out there. You never gained any skills. You rejected school. You got introduced to drugs and mayhem, and story goes on and on. So, yeah, we always have been running, and we're used to it.
That's the thing.
We can adapt.
Take it as the norm, right?
Yeah.
The new chief of police is a friend of mine.
Okay.
And I mean a genuine friend. Jim McDonald, shout out.
Yeah.
I was telling him when I asked him, he was on the podcast, his first couple of months in office. That's the first podcast he did. Yeah. That's the favor of God. I had asked him the question about black men being stopped by cops, and I was explaining to him that lots of times we get stopped, we wonder if we're going to live or die.
Oh, yeah.
And white people don't feel that way. And I could tell that he got it, but he didn't really get it.
No.
And this is a man who's not a racist, but still doesn't get it. No. And I said to him in another conversation, and I explained to him that he didn't quite get it, and he admitted that he didn't, that you'll never know what it's like to walk a mile in my shoes, to be sitting in the car with a Jewish friend and see flashing lights behind me, and the Jewish friend is sending an email. He could care less. Well, my heart is, oh, my God, what I do? What are they going to try? I mean, I've seen guys in South Carolina, people can Google it. There was one guy, the officer asked him to get his license out of the glove compartment. Yeah. He reached over and he started shooting him, shot him 9 times. Right. This kind of, many white people are trained to be afraid of black people. I didn't plan to deal with this today, right. but I was trying to figure out how you made it, because the more I live, I'm trying to figure out how is it that some make it and some don't. I'm trying to find out what is the missing ingredient. And the more I analyze the homeless situation in the city, I told you we would talk about that. And that's my passion. That's the work that I'm called to do. The more I realize that the system is actually rigged against us, and that some of this is sort of meant to be. I mean, it's like you create ghettos. Yeah. Do you really think that if the government didn't want Skid Row to exist the way it is, it wouldn't exist? Yeah. There are people who get rich off of homelessness. Yeah, that's true. I've told people that, people who provide services. Right. And that's a travesty. Lhasa is going through a lot now. And I know that in the work that you do, you have probably employed people who were homeless and didn't tell you before. I'm wondering, what do you think is the missing ingredient? Because I got a lot of people who watch me. Some of them are homeless. Some of them are billionaires. What is the missing ingredient? What can a man do to get himself off the streets? What can a man do to get it together? Well, I thought about that on the way over here, and I said, what would I say if he asked me a question like that? And I thought about
when a dog has a litter. So you think of America as, let's say, it's like the dog has a litter. You got to plug in if you're gonna get fed.
Right.
You gotta know somebody. You gotta have some skills. You gotta have work ethic. You gotta get up every day as though your life depends on you getting up, getting in that shower, cleaning yourself up. And if you're reading the classified ads all day, read those classified ads. You gotta find a way to plug in. See, America is the concept of America is interesting because it's a concept of you're free to succeed or you're free to fail.
Right.
You know, many people fail because they didn't make the choice. It was kind of like circumstances happen. I mean, I went through my teenage years too. I could have fell off the wagon in my teenage years.
Jesse Jackson used to say that some people were not, they didn't make a mistake, they were born into a mistake.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, and when you get two broken people together, they produce oftentimes broken children. I'm just wondering, though, I'm still wondering, there's got to be something that we're missing here, because I've seen guys as talented as other guys.
Yeah.
And one made it and one didn't.
Right.
Is it discipline? Is it a lack of vision? Because that's one of the things, the Tiny Homes Project, which we've launched and we're still fundraising for now. One of the things that we're going to do is we're going to have holistic, what I call transformational housing. These are not going to be people lying around on their bunks all day long. You have to get up every day. You have to go to class. We're going to be, we'll bring people like Mr. Vincent Williams in and say, here's a guy who made it. You can make it too. We're going to have seminars for these guys. We're going to be teaching them how to get it together, because I believe that if you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. If you teach him how to fish, you feed him for a lifetime.
That's absolutely
I'm
true.
just wondering what helped you learn how to feed your family for a lifetime.
Right. Well, I was an average student. I always like to say I was a C- student throughout my whole time.
You and George Bush?
I didn't handle my business.
Okay.
I didn't see the reason why I had to take algebra. I didn't understand why I needed to learn about the American Revolution.
Right.
I was rather a bored student. I was a daydreamer. When my parents had a conference with the teacher, he said, your kid's got a lot of potential, but he doesn't apply himself. So I wasn't applying myself. But what I realized in business, it turned my life around. Because if you don't apply yourself in business, you won't be in business. It is all about applying yourself. It's all about excellence. Or you always have to strive to be better than you were yesterday. My kids used to ask me, well, what do you do every day? Dad? I don't see what you really do. I say, every day I go to my business, I'm trying to see what do I need to do to make it better than it was yesterday. But it starts with how we get started in life. We come here with...
So mentioning getting started, if I may, excuse me. When you were working in the warehouse, when did you know I want to have my own store? When did you know that? At what age, so to speak?
The best dreams in a man's life are the ones you don't even dream. I didn't even dream that one day. I always said...
Never in my wildest dreams.
I sure wish I would. I sure wish I can grow up and be like that guy.
Right.
But I never dreamed because it was too big of a dream.
Right.
It's like me dreaming I'm going to be Michael Jackson. It's just too big of a dream.
Right.
But, it's not necessarily the dream. It's what you're doing every day. And I was taking notes mentally.
And that may have been from God, though, this for your life, because somewhere I read that God can dream a bigger dream for you than you can ever dream for yourself.
And that's exactly it, because God uses people. I think we came from a place where we were living souls. And we inherited a earthly body, and we have an assignment, but we have to find out what is that assignment. Just like your assignment, it has to be. This word comes to mind: purpose-driven life. You got to get up with purpose. Now, if I was going back,
shout out to Rick Warren. Give me some of those royalties.
If I was able to go back and look at my life, I would say, I should have gained purpose a lot earlier, because you have to have purpose. You got to manage you. You can't expect that your parents are going to manage you throughout your whole life. They'll get you started, but you have to go dig deep and find out, who am I? Who's the person behind the name? What do I represent? What are my values? What do I believe in? I didn't know I was so tenacious. But I'll give you another story.
But I think I want to get that story. But I think you got there when you were supposed to get there. Somewhere I read you're exactly where you're supposed to be, and when you learn what you're supposed to learn, you'll move on. When I think about all the prophets of the Bible who were great, God called them and then sent them back into the field. For example, Joseph made him a dreamer. You're going to be the prince of Egypt. Now go to the pit. And then he didn't leave the dream and go to the palace. He left the dream and went to the pit. He left the pit, went to the prison for a crime he didn't commit. 13 and a half years in prison for rape. And then finally his gift worked him out, brought him out. But God taught him some things in that prison that got him ready for the palace. Right. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison for the right to vote. The prison got him ready for the presidency. He learned compassion and forgiveness in prison.
Patience.
And patience. Had he become president without going to prison, he wouldn't have been ready.
That's right.
It's like giving my 12-year-old son, the keys to a Rolls Royce.
Right.
He'll kill himself and kill other people in the process. So I think you got there when you were supposed to get there, and you had another story for me. What was that?
Yeah. It was a story about quitting. So you take baseball as a metaphor for life. I had been a pretty good baseball player, and at 14, we were in this all-star tournament. And I had kind of carried the team from the last tournament, and now they kind of needed me to pitch again, and my arm was gone. I didn't have anything. And as soon as I started throwing the ball, them kids, those Latino kids from, I can't remember where they're from, but Montebello or something like that, and home run, off the wall, double, and I told the coach, come and get me. I had got nothing left. The coach said, you're going to be all right. You'll make it through this first inning. And so I tried again. Next guy, another double, another home run. And I called him again, and I basically said, you got to take me out of this game. I'm so embarrassed. I'm crying going off the field. I go in the dugout, throw my glove. I'm crying. Our family went home that day. Nothing was said to me at all on their long trip home. And this is the most important lesson I got in my life from my father. When we got home, he sat me down in the living room. He said, son, in life, you're going to win, you're going to lose. You may even get beat. But one thing you can't be is a quitter.
Absolutely.
When I was down on my luck in business, those words just rang in my ear. You can be beat. You could feel like they're going to take you out of here in a stretcher, but don't quit.
Mentioning quitting, when things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're traveling seems all uphill, rest just a bit, but don't you quit, because quitters never win, winners never quit. I thought of that when you said what you said. How important is reading to a man becoming successful?
Well, this was something I got from my college professor at junior college. I didn't go straight to university. He said that every day you should read the newspaper. Every day I read the newspaper.
Absolutely.
Because it's relevant history. It's history being made now. It tells you about history that happened in the past. Right. It tells you about things that might affect you today that you don't know about unless you read. Right. So I am an avid reader. You know, Will Rogers famously said that all that I know, I learned from reading the newspaper.
That's right. I read the paper every day. I have James Scott Manning. Read the newspaper every day of his life. You better not read it before he did. And I don't know how he knew if you put something in the wrong, he would really get upset about you reading. Mentioning reading, I said we were doing this a little differently today, so I'm very extemporaneous and spontaneous today. Go by the Last Bookstore. It's a huge inventory over in Studio City, and you'll see some of my books there. And also go to Barnes & Noble in Studio City on Ventura, and you'll see some of my books there also. I take the profits. We use it to help us with the Tiny Homes Project. If you were in charge of the Tiny Homes Project, let's say tomorrow you have this plot of land and you have 15 rooms there. We have 2 people in each room. We have a multi-purpose room there for them to go to classes on a daily basis. We want them to take seminars daily. We're going to bring in priests, rabbis, pastors, businessmen, psychologists, psychiatrists. How would you run the program? What would you tell 30 men at the beginning of a 1-year journey to help them change their lives so that once we release them from our program, they won't go back to the streets again?
Well, it's so important what you're doing in terms of you're creating an environment where they can be proud of who they are. Pride is what drives us. Praise is what drives us. Every day, a man who doesn't get up and go to work on whatever he's supposed to do and doesn't sweat by his brow, the Bible says he didn't even deserve to eat. And the whole idea of this homeless thing is it's a lot of rhetoric about homelessness and what we need to do about it, but you can't do it for grown people. Now, for kids, it's a different story, but grown people need to do it for themselves. So you gotta get them sort of reacclimated to what it's like to be productive every day. If you make a plot of land, a garden around there, watch and see how proud.
He went to my website, Jack.
If you do that, watch and see how proud because that's
It's like you've been talking to Noberto, and he talks about that pride thing.
Yeah.
He talks about recreating a new community for them. One in which, because communities flock together. It's like if I'm down, you down, we get a bed next to each other.
Right.
But we need to create this community where it's a community of people who are coming up, who are transforming, who are changing their lives.
Yeah.
Because I told you, I came up with the term post-traumatic street disorder. Because I housed a guy who had been homeless for 9 years,
Right.
put him in an apartment, knocked on his door a week later. When he opened the door, he had a tent set up.
Yeah, that was an amazing story to hear that had etched in his mind that he still had that tent.
It's like seagulls. I remember one location, they shipped about 10 seagulls out 200 miles away, and within 3 days, every one of them came back to the same location. It's like there's a microchip in their brain that brings them back. I think that oftentimes, like when it's the same phenomena as recidivism, when guys go to prison and come back, keep coming back, that becomes a new way of life. That becomes a new home for them. And as you were saying, for grown people, you can lead a horse to the water. You can't make him drink.
Right.
We can't save everybody.
Right.
But I want to save those who can be saved, and those who want to be saved, and those who are willing to do what it takes to be saved.
But they need direction. They need a new orientation to what can be done about their lives. Like, for instance, if you have them under an underpass and they've got garbage, they're laying in garbage, and they're, it's just a bad condition, feces and rats and roaches and all that. If you're going to get that person out of there and put them into a home, let them start by cleaning up where they are. People have to get to using rakes and hoes and clean up. I have an idea for a project. I've been kind of like in my pretend to run for president self, that a day's wage for a day's work. If you took all the armies of people that are in this situation and made them be at a depot at 6 o'clock in the morning sharp, because that's when the truck's leaving, you arm them with a rake and a hoe and bags, and you pay them by the pound to clean up all these weeds. That's why God made weeds. I mean, weeds and garbage is everywhere. There's so much of it, it would take years to clean up all. And LA is supposed to be getting ready for the Olympics. This would be a perfect time for a day's wage for a day's dollar. Now they go and they load up, they go back to the depot, just like they do the recycling. You weigh it and you give them money. You can't just give people money. Like when I see people come on a median strip, and it's like, I'm just so, I can't do nothing about it. I've tried to offer jobs to people.
And I was going to be honest with you now, and this is my passion. This is the work I do, and I'm going to keep doing it. I will admit to you, there have been a couple of times where I've seen we'll work for food, and I stop and say, okay, I got some work at my house right now. Look, I'm 2 miles away. One time I was in a truck. I say, you can get on the back if you want. If you think I'm after you or something. I said, but I'll pay you, how much you trying to get? I said, I'll give you 30 or 40 bucks. Depends on something. Oh, no, I can't do that. Oh,
can't do it.
He refused. I've never had one to accept that. But I think you're onto something, and I know that Mayor Karen Bass watches a lot of my podcasts. Tag her in the video. Y'all got to learn how to work the algorithm now. I'm learning. I saw the CEO of YouTube yesterday, and he was saying, be more of yourself and don't put on, and your videos will do much better. And he was also saying people have to like the videos. You got to click that like and put a comment on there about. I want to wrap up on the chicken. Your store, you have Asian customers, Black customers, white customers, rich, poor. How do you attract this diverse group of people to your restaurant?
Well, I told you I took my time when I transitioned from the franchise I owned to this new thing, and I set certain benchmarks. I wanted to create a name that would be unmistakably a name that when you hear it, that name means something to you. I wanted to create an image similar like the way
That's the name of my church. Yes, we can worship center.
exactly
Honey's Kettle.
Honey's Kettle. There's it. So I wanted an image that would say symbol of quality. So whatever we do is going to be excellent quality or we're not going to sell it to you. I wanted to create an experiential concept. Like when I was growing up, putting together a couple nickels and dimes and go down to the sundry shop and buying a hamburger and a bottle Coke and some French fries. I mean, I was, in heaven practically, because I didn't have the money.
Right.
I just scraped together some money and did that. I wanted people to have the experience of what it was like in the old days. That's why we call ourselves a new old-fashioned company, because everything's done in the old-fashioned
I was going to ask you, where did you come with those big old oversized cushion type on the back of the seats and all of that? It looks kind of wooden stuff. It looks kind of old fashioned in there.
Yeah, everything. I wanted to use only good, hard, earthly materials. Leather. I wanted to use wood. I wanted to use copper. Copper is one of the big accents. I even started collecting these copper kettles that came over from Europe when people came and started America.
Right.
And those kettles are very, very old. And I had this idea that the first fried chicken was a kettle fried chicken, that somebody got the idea that if I dust this chicken and throw it in a pot of hot oil,
Right.
I'd have a quickly cooked product. And voila, you see what happened. It made it very popular, of course, with the Colonel Sanders story and all that. But today, it's got to be 100 times better than that. And that's what Honey's Kettle strives to be.
Well, you're better than Kentucky Fried Chicken. How did you get it? Do you think you're better than Kentucky Fried Chicken?
Well, I don't like to downplay anybody, because I don't think anybody tried. I'm like James Brown. I'm the hardest working man in the chicken business.
So you're in a class by yourself.
So I put myself. I want to be on an island. Remember,
Right.
I'm running for my life.
Okay, all right.
So in order for me to save my life, and now I'm too old to go back to working for somebody, so I got to keep this thing going. And that means that I have to strive for excellence that leads everybody else in the dust. You can't even compare us to any of those companies.
And I would normally not even ask this question, but out of curiosity, can you tell me the most famous person you've seen in that restaurant, in your restaurant?
Oh, wow. I didn't personally see, but I heard Jay-Z was in the back with his Gulf Wing car in the back, eating on a drumstick, they told me. We delivered to homes all in Beverly Hills, very famous people. Queen Latifah at one point was coming in quite regularly, but now people can get it delivered to them.
Right.
And
like
a lot of celebrities don't like to be
in public. Like
they don't like to be. But we have some famous customers too. Probably one of the most famous is grew up on the stuff in Compton. Was Kendrick Lamar and Chico Brown. Big name people that are doing incredible things. Snoop Dogg, all of them. So somebody, I've never seen Snoop in there.
You heard?
I know Snoop knows about it. And so because I know Warren G used to contact me, so I know him and Snoop are really close. And Shaquille O'Neal was probably one of he used to bring his family there.
Okay, y'all tag Shaq now. Shaq, I want to know what you think about about the food. So in some sense, you're living your dream, and I want to know. What are you waiting on? Because do you have a publicist?
No, I don't have a publicist. I have a daughter who does a lot of my Instagram and social media stuff. Yeah.
That's wonderful. She needs to keep doing that, but you need to get a publicist and get a podcast because God has a plan for your life. And I heard one of my favorite bishops say, I won't even call his name once at the time, he said, I wish you could see you the way that I see you.
Okay.
But and I don't dream a lot.
Right.
And I'm not one of the guys, God just showed me you're going to get a 4-bedroom house. And God just showed me you're going to get a brand new, I don't believe in all that junk. I don't play games to raise money. I just tell people what I need and they're either going to help or they're not going to help. My point is I don't do a lot of prophesying, but I see you going into another dimension. and I see your voice being heard around the world.
Yeah.
I think that God has taken you through the fire, literally.
Well, didn't gold go through fire to become gold?
Purification process.
That's it.
And the more I live, if people get nothing else out of this, how to succeed, how to become a millionaire, how to become a businessman, how to become a success, because success is not just about money. It's about health and happiness and health. I know some guys who are billionaires laying on their deathbed right now who would give it all away for another day on planet Earth. But I have learned that, like I was telling him, our parents got us ready. God gets you ready. Life gets you ready. It's like back to Joseph again. When he called David, Samuel anointed him and said, "You're going to be the king of Israel." Mm-hmm. And as soon as he got anointed to be king, he went back into the field and started shoveling sheep dung because it wasn't time yet.
Right.
And so he had to go through years and years.
Oh, yeah. I know about
cave to cave.
I know.
On the run.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I thought I was going to be king.
Right.
When he became king, I'm telling you that being on the run and being in the cave and being on your knees.
Woo, what you talking about?
Thank you, Lord.
I tell you, I'm not really telling you the whole story of my pain and suffering, but nothing glorious comes without suffering. If you're under suffering, Black people were under suffering from the day we were born, from when we got here. Right. But don't always think of suffering as such a bad thing, because on the other side of suffering is a two-sided coin. If you flip the coin, the other side is glory. Christ was on a cross, suffering, but the other side of it was glory. So that means that all those years that it was kind of hard to say this when I was going through it, but when, adversity brings things out of you that will not come out of you any other way. You begin to invent. You think deep and harder.
That's right.
You concentrate more. You get more purpose. Every one of us should be flying a flag over our lives that represents a symbol of who we are. That's right. And what we're trying to do in the world. Right. And if we're not doing it for monetary gain, we're doing it for working for the kingdom. And so in working for the kingdom, that flag is like, so let your light shine. Now, I'm not a preacher, don't want to pretend to be one, but I did get some very good lessons from the way the Bible has talked about this.
And the Bible said, when we were talking about that, says when the enemy comes in like a flood, that God would lift up a standard against him. My great-granddaddy used to tell me, whatever you do, get education. I don't want you to be an ignorant preacher. You might as well be a preacher. He said you can't be an ignorant preacher. And I'm glad he taught me to study, because the Bible said, we'll lift up a standard against him. I looked up that word standard, and I thought it meant what the English term means. But the reason you go to school, young people, sometimes, the reason we study is so that we can look behind the word and find out what it really means. That word standard biblically means parchment. And it was like a banner. So there were armies. Yeah. And so what God told them to do was to write down every war that they had already won and put it on a banner at the front of the army. And it would be written on both sides. Wow. So when the enemy saw me coming, he said, he got Russia, he got China, he already got North Korea, now he's coming for me. And when I got discouraged, I looked up and said, I got China, I got Russia, I can do this thing. So we have to remind ourselves what we've gone through. And you were talking about suffering, and I thought about Reverend Jesse Jackson, and he said suffering breeds character. Right. Character breeds faith. Right. And in the end, faith will not disappoint. That's right. Help me house the homeless. Help us change the city. Let's change the world together. Thank you so much for coming. I'm almost out of time. Yeah. Anything, last words you would like to say?
I have to tell you this story about a homeless guy. It's an unbelievable story about a homeless guy and a businessman.
We're going to leave on this note.
We called him the Leprechaun. Leprechaun was over at my house one day with another friend that I knew that was doing some work around the house. And they mentioned about he had $13,000. I've come to find out this guy did not like breaking $100 bill. He knew how to use social services, the housing, the food. This guy, every time he put together coins, nickels and coins, he'd make it a $100 bill. But he would never break a $100 bill. I was in trouble with my house. And I said, I talked to him about it. Now, this was street money. So, if I tell him I'm going to give him back this plus 10%, I'm giving him this back plus 10%, exactly as I say it. Do you know we had a relationship for about 3 years that he spotted me $4,000 almost at a time. He saved my house when I was in deep trouble. And it was unspoken hero in my life. And if you had put together 100,000, 1,000,000 people and said, pick out one that would have the ability to do that, he would have been the only one. But he did not boast. Of course, he couldn't, because he kept the cash in his possession somewhere, wherever he was hiding it. But that guy actually helped the businessman get over so many bridges. When I couldn't go back to friends and family because I had raised money from them so many times.
What am I?
The leprechaun.
So what's the moral behind that story?
The moral that don't underestimate people. And then know that even if you're in a circumstance at the bottom and you're trying to work your way out of it, start setting yourself benchmarks. Start setting goals. Like the $100. I only want to collect a $100 bill. Right. I don't want to ever break a $100 bill. Right. And by doing that, he created himself a pool of money. Right. And so in all of us, if we mess up in school, you're really asking for trouble. Right. So let's get back in those classrooms. And when they tell you, learn algebra, you go home, you go to the tutor, because that's the easiest road to follow that will get you somewhere.
Mentioning Malcolm, what's his name? Malcolm Jamal, the guy from the Cosby Show, died yesterday. Malcolm, I can't think of his Warner. Malcolm Jamal just died. We grew up watching the Cosby Show. A lot of people, some of y'all need to have your kids watch this podcast so they can learn something from this great man that I've had the honor to be in the room with today. And I just thank God. I thank God for him. One last lesson. Just drop a bomb on us before we go. What would you tell? So you got this homeless guy who is intelligent, fairly well educated. He lost his job, experimented with drugs a little bit, lost everything. He's on the streets. He wants to make a comeback. He comes to you and says, Mr. Williams, what can I do, man? I'm ready to get it together. What should I do?
Well, in small things, it's so important that you treat the small things as though it's big. Mm-hmm. When I was in Compton, I treated that store as though it was a kingdom of 100 restaurants. I loved it. I cared about it. I went at it and worked so hard at it, because whatever we get that we're given at small things, I can't make you a ruler over big things unless you handle the small things. And so one of the lessons I got from Willie J. Stennis that stuck with me also was one day he told me, whatever job you do, you got to try to be the best at it. He said, I used to drive buses. I wanted to be the best. I used to be a janitor. I wanted to be the best. He even said he used to pick cotton, had a reputation all throughout Mississippi as the most productive cotton picker there ever was. So whatever job you have, do that job with all that you got in you, because somebody's watching you. And you're going to promote yourself. You got to make your own luck. You got to promote yourself by what you do every day. And if you ain't getting up, showering, and getting ready for the world, like I used to tell my sons, the world's coming at you in a hurry. Right. And if you're not ready, you're going to find that your life is going to send you all kinds of bad directions. So get ready every day of your life.
That's right. Dr. King said it this way, if you're going to be a street sweeper, be the best street sweeper.
There you go.
Be so good that the living, the dead, and the unborn will have to say, there lived the great street sweeper who swept his job well.
That's what King said?
Dr. King said that. Yes.
Story that they were contemporaries. So that's the kind of way they viewed the world, is that whatever you do, you got to go at it trying to be the best at it.
So Mayor Karen Bass, Attorney Antonio Romanucci, that was George Floyd's attorney. I know you're watching. Reverend Al Sharpton, I know you're watching. Tag some people in this video. Let's put it out there. And some of my college professors, invite this brother, maybe even both of us, to come speak to your student. We got to change this world, and it's going to take us together. I'll close with this. You said you're not a preacher, and I say thank God for that. I'm sick of preachers. I'm tired of preachers. I know I sound like Richard Pryor. What does the bishop say? I'm tired of preachers. Because oftentimes, I'll share this with you. I remember one old preacher told me he was going to do something, and I told one of my preachers who lives near you about it. And he's a theologian, well-trained, and been around a long time. He said, man, and he ain't going to do nothing.
Yeah.
I said, what do you mean? He said, he's just talking. I said, why do you say that? He said, preachers sometimes just be talking. They ain't gonna bust a grape. And I don't mean that all preachers. Some of what we do is very important. I love what we do. I love all the brothers and the sisters. But sometimes it's just too much talk. We got to go to work.
Okay.
And I have a saying, I say, let's go to work.
Well, look at this.
Yes.
If you take all the churches, you take all the billionaires and multimillionaires who will never be able to spend all that money, nor will their kids.
In 10 lifetimes.
And money flowing like, someone making $500,000 a week, that type of ridiculous type of money. We don't say, don't do that, because if you're successful, go at it as hard as you can and go as
you
hard.
want to. Yes.
But guess what?
Right.
If all of it was a collection of government, a collection of all those wealthy people, a collection of the churches who have the responsibility to go down on the street and do something about it. How is it I'm embarrassed? I'm actually embarrassed that as an American, that we have let this place go as though we inherited a great place and we're letting it go to pot.
That's right.
Nobody going to work no more. You go around every corner and there's garbage and people laying on the streets. And it's like, what happened to America?
Who was that? One president had a jobs program, Lyndon Baines Johnson or somebody. Who was it?
It was famously Roosevelt. And that's kind of what I'm calling for. In a day's wage for a day's work, put armies of, but they gotta be in uniform.
Army, and uniform. We didn't
gotta put them in uniform.
I'll bring him back, yo. I'll bring him back. We didn't get to the uniform. I'll bring him back. I'm out of time.
Yeah.
But he talked to me about an army of homeless people, and all of them have on uniform. I thought about esprit de corps. I thought about how proud I was when I was in the JROTC and had my uniform. I thought about how proud I was when I was in the United States Navy and had my military uniform. And I got kicked out for assault as company commander, but full disclosure. But anyway, I grew up since then. But I think you're onto something. And I think it's very, very important. And I think this message has to be out there. And I want you to mark the day when you watch this podcast and your wife and other people watch it, that I told you needed a publicist and that your voice will be heard around the world.
Is that right?
And I said that for all of you all to see. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. I'll bring Mr. Vincent Williams back because this has been an exciting hour of power, the time. Look, we didn't run out of ideas. We just ran out of time. Okay. Remember, we can make this world a better place in which to live. We can change this world. We can do it together. Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.